Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Podcast. Today is Thursday, October 10th, 2019. Today I'm going to recap yesterday's playoff baseball games, look ahead to tonight's game, NHL's slate from last night, look ahead to tonight, NBA preseason, Thursday night football, college football tonight, WNBA finals, game 5 pick, and my best bet of the day. Okay, we're going to start in baseball where there were two winner-go-home games in the National League Division Series. The first game of the two was a laugher with the Cardinals coming out on top by a score of 13-1 as the Cardinals scored 10 runs in the first inning. It was over before it started. Cardinals move on to the National League Championship Series. Jack Flaherty gets the win, getting charged with the loss. Mike Foltynewicz. And now the Braves are facing a very long off season after a promising season this year, winning their division for their second consecutive year. Top of the first, RBI single, Marcell Ozuna, 1-0 Cardinals. Bases loaded walk, Matt Carpenter, 2-0 Cardinals. 2-run double, Tommy Edman, 4-0 Cardinals. How good has he been? Jack Flaherty walks with the bases loaded, 5-0. 2-run double, Dexter Fowler, 7-0. 2-run double, Colton Wong, 9-0. Marcell Ozuna strikes out on a wild pitch, and the run scores by Colton Wong to make it 10-0. Top of the second, RBI double, Paul DeJong, 11-0. Top of the third, RBI single, Harrison Bader, 12-0. RBI single, Paul DeJong, 13-0. And then the lone run came in the bottom of the fourth on a home run by Josh Donaldson to make it a 13-1 game, and that was your final. Jack Flaherty was sensational. 6 innings, 4 hits, and a run, and walk, 8 strikeouts. Giovanni Gallegos, a scoreless 7th. John Brebbia, an inning, a hit, and a strikeout. And Genesis Cabrera closes it out. An inning, a hit, and a strikeout. Braves pitching statistics, ugly. Foltynewicz, a third of an inning, 3 hits, 6 runs, 4 walks, and no strikeouts. Max Fried, an inning and 2/3, 4 hits, 4 runs, a walk, and 2 strikeouts. Luke Jackson, 2/3 of an inning, 2 hits, and a run, a walk, and 2 strikeouts. Josh Tomlin, 2 1/3 innings, 2 hits, no runs, no walks, and a strikeout. Sean Newcomb, 2 innings, 3 strikeouts. Darren O'Day, an inning, 2 strikeouts. Julio Teheran, an inning, 2 strikeouts. So, an ugly day for the Braves and an ugly way for their season to come to an end. What's next for them? Dallas Keuchel and Josh Donaldson were 2 veterans that were brought in to help them win. They're now going to be free agents. And I think that both of those players can get 2 or 3 year deals this offseason. You have some other issues to take care of. Where does Austin Riley fit into the mix next year? Don't forget, he was a player that was helpful for them, that was lost for the season. Ronald Acuna, does his behavior change going into next season after really not having a good postseason? Yeah, he hit .444, but let's face it, this was a disaster for him because of the non-running out on the 336-foot hit that only ended up a single. That's a bad look on him. Came back to bite the Braves in Game 1 of this series. So ultimate karma comes back to bite you, and it did here for Acuna. He should be a better player going into next season. Brian McCann retired. Congratulations to him. Great career. 7-time All-Star. World Series champion in 2017 with the Astros. Adam Duvall turned out to be a pretty good pickup. Is he back next year? Nick Markakis is a veteran that was really helpful to them. Will he call it a quits like McCann did? Freddie Freeman's going to be around next year. I think he's a guarantee to be back. So will Ozzie Albies, so will Acuna, and so will Swanson. The pitching, I'm sure they'll go out and make improvements. Maybe they're a dark horse to sign Garrett Cole or Steven Strasburg this winter, assuming that Strasburg opts out. So, interesting winter ahead coming for the Atlanta Braves. Meanwhile, for the St. Louis Cardinals, they're on to the National League Championship Series, and they deserve a lot of credit. Jack Flaherty was solid in this series. Adam Wainwright turned back the clock in Game 3. He was fantastic. It was Game 4. Dakota Hudson, actually no, Wainwright was Game 3, and then the Cards bullpen blew that game. Dakota Hudson pitched well. Miles Mikolas pitched okay. Bullpen stepped up when it had to outside of Game 1, where it made the Braves interesting in the bottom of the ninth, and then they blew it in Game number 3. The bullpen has to be a little better in the next series, in my opinion, if they want to advance. Their offense is really good, so this team obviously cannot be written off, and I thought that this team was the best candidate to spoil any World Series that did not feature the Dodgers, Yankees, or Astros. If you asked me before the postseason who would spoil one of those two possible matchups with the Dodgers and with either the Astros or the Yankees, I said the most team likely to spoil it was the St. Louis Cardinals, and it might be right, and it could be the Nats. We'll see. Who won 7-3 to win their first playoff series since 1981, back when they were the Montreal Expos. This game took 10 innings, and it was an all-timer. Daniel Hudson gets the win, Joe Kelly the loss. Bottom of the first is where you're thinking, oh boy, here we go again. The Nationals are going to lose yet another playoff series. After we thought that Jock Peterson had a leadoff home run to start the game, they ruled it a ground rule double, courtesy of the ball getting stuck in one of those walls out there in center field in Dodger Stadium. Right after that, Max Muncy homers, 2-0 Dodgers. Bottom of the second, home run Kike Hernandez, 3-0 Dodgers. Top of the sixth, here come the Nationals. RBI single Juan Soto, 3-1. And this is where the game really changed. In the top of the eighth, Anthony Rendon home run off of Clayton Kershaw makes it 3-2. Followed by Juan Soto home run deep to right off of Kershaw, 3-3. Take it to the 10th. Grand slam, Howie Kendrick, 7-3 Nationals. That's your final. The Nats finally win a playoff series since they moved over from Montreal. And they'll take on the Cardinals in what should be an awesome National League Championship Series. Two really good teams that we have in store for you in the National League. Steven Strasburg, after a slow start, settled down. 6 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs, a walk, 7 strikeouts. Then, out of the bullpen, to pitch the 7th came Tanner Rainey, who's been solid in the postseason. 2/3 of an inning, scoreless. His ERA is actually 9, so maybe he hasn't been that solid, but he was solid certainly last night. Patrick Corbin was a bit of a hero after being a scapegoat in Game 3. An inning and a third, no hits, no runs, no walks, 3 strikeouts. Daniel Hudson pitched the 9th, an inning, a hit, and a strikeout, and Sean Doolittle closed it out. Struck out 1 in the 10th inning. And meanwhile, for the Dodgers, Walker Buehler, 6 2/3 spectacular innings, 4 hits and a run, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts, 117 pitches. He gets taken out for Clayton Kershaw, who records a strikeout to Adam Eaton to end the 7th inning. And he's back out there for the 8th. So the 30 of the inning was the last batter in the 7th. 2 hits, 2 earned runs, no walks, and a strikeout. Obviously, those 2 hits were the 2 home runs by Rendon and Soto. Kenta Maeda comes in and strikes out the side after those home runs. He was special. He should have been out there for the 9th. Instead, you see Joe Kelly, an inning and a third, 3 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. He was really the scapegoat of this game, not Clayton Kershaw. And Dave Roberts, obviously, as well, for not sticking with Maeda, who clearly looked dominant. But if Maeda gave it up, he would have gotten the same criticism. So, Dave Roberts just has to live with this for the rest of his life. And this was obviously, in my opinion, the worst loss of his managerial career. And who knows, maybe he's not the Dodgers manager in 24 hours from now. Kenley Jansen, 2/3 of an inning scoreless. He probably on paper should have been in there, but I'm fine with not using him only because he's not the same guy, and I think he probably would have blew it too. I just would have stuck with Maeda, who looked flat out dominant in that 8th inning after Clayton Kershaw gave up the lead. All right, Dodgers, what's next for them? They're obviously home early. They were the favorites in the National League, and now they're home watching the rest of the playoffs. Dave Roberts, I think, is going to be out of a job because of this meltdown. It was kind of reminiscent of Joe Girardi in the 2017 playoffs, although the Yankees didn't fire him until the next round because they ended up winning that series against Cleveland. It's something similar to that. I think time it's run its course. You saw it with the Cubs and Joe Madden this year. I think you'll see it with the Dodgers and Dave Roberts. They'll move on, and they're going to be yet another big market team that's looking for a manager. So I think there'll be a new manager in Los Angeles next year. There are going to be some changes. Some guys are in contract years. I believe Justin Turner is in a contract year. Obviously, Heijin Ryu, contract year. Who knows if he'll be back. I think he's going to get a nice contract from somebody. Maybe the Dodgers bring him back. And then next season, they really have to make sure that guys like Gavin Lux and Dustin May develop into star players, just like how Cody Bellinger and Walker Buehler have for them these past few seasons. So next up on their must-make stars list, Dustin May and obviously Gavin Lux, who both showed star-like flashes throughout the season, especially at the end there after they were called up. I think there could be some more changes coming for the Dodgers. I talked about managerial. I talked about the possibility of Heijin Ryu and Justin Turner leaving. And there's rumors that they might go out after Anthony Rendon, who they just saw with the Nationals advance. But I really don't see the Dodgers going that route because them and the Yankees, let's face it, they're not big spenders anymore. They like to stay close to their luxury tax hold, and I think that they have their own price line for certain players, both those teams. And hey, how's it worked out? I know the Dodgers are going to be getting criticism all day, and they have to be. People are going to be saying that they have to be big spenders and whatnot. And they probably should have won a World Series over the last 2 seasons. They probably blew the 2017 World Series as much as love as the Astros got for that. Don't forget they had the lead in, I believe it was Game 4 of that World Series, and the Astros came back and won that game. So you can make a case they should have won a World Series with Dave Roberts. So we'll see what they do this offseason. They're certainly going to be a team to watch. And meanwhile, the Nationals' first playoff series win, as I mentioned, since 1981. Now they take on a Cardinals team. Won't be easy. I think both these teams are evenly matched. They both have good rotations. I think both teams' weaknesses are the bullpens. Although their bullpens did get some big outs in the previous rounds against the Braves and the Dodgers, respectively. I think both these teams are good offensive teams as well. So I think we're in for a great series. And I think give Dave Martinez a lot of credit. He absolutely saved his job by using his starters out of relief. It didn't work out in Game 3 with Corbin, but it worked out in this game. It worked out in Game 2 with Max Scherzer. It worked out in the wild card game with Steven Strasburg. That's a big reason why they're here in the NLCS. I think that Sean Doolittle and Daniel Hudson have really stepped up for them, and they deserve a lot of credit as well. Anthony Rendon, after a slow start to the playoffs, turned his playoffs around. Juan Soto's a stud. Howie Kendrick, classy veteran. Trey Turner has been solid in the playoffs. So the Nats really deserve a lot of love, and we'll see if they can make it to the Fall Classic. All right. Now we're going to move on to the NHL. There's only 3 games on last night's slate. The Sabres defeated the Canadiens 5-4 in overtime on a goal by Marcus Johansson. As the Sabres go to 3-0-1, Montreal drops to 0-1-2. Number 1 star of the game, 2 goals and 2 assists. Jack Eichel, number 2 star of the game, 2 goals and an assist. Joel Armia, and the number 3 star of the game with the overtime winner and assist, Marcus Johansson. Flyers over the Devils 4-0, a nice win in their home opener to go to 2-0 on the year. Devils dropped to 0-2-1. Number 1 star of the game, 25 saves on 25 shots, Carter Hart. He was my pick to win the Vezina this season. He looked spectacular early on. Number 2 star of the game with the goal and an assist, Ivan Provorov. And the number 3 star of the game with the goal, Sean Couturier. Canucks over the Kings 8-2. This was an ass-kicking by the Canucks. A very impressive first win of the season. They're 1-2. The LA Kings are 1-2. Number 1 star of the game with the goal and 3 assists, free agent pickup JT Miller. Number 2 star of the game with 2 goals and an assist, Brandon Sutter. Number 3 star of the game, a goal and assist, rookie defenseman Quinn Hughes. Tonight's game, you have a bigger slate. 7 o'clock, you have the Red Wings at the Canadiens. Both teams have 4 points each. Red Wings 2-1-0, Canadiens 1-0-2. Lightning Maple Leafs, a bit of a proving game for Toronto. They're 2-1-1 with 5 points. Lightning have 3 points at 1-1-1. Oilers at the Devils. Oilers 3-0-0 with 6 points. Devils have the 1 point because they lost in I think it was a shootout against the Jets in the first week of the season. Now it's their home opener. The Ducks at the Penguins. The Ducks have 6 points. They're 3-0-0. Penguins have 2 points. They're 1-2-0. 7:30 Blues at the Senators. 2-1 are the Blues with 5 points. And Ottawa is winless at 0-2-0. 8 o'clock, the Wild at the Jets. Wild 0-2-0. No points, obviously. Jets 2-2 with 4 points. Capitals Predators is a good game. I think it's the best game on the board tonight. As well as Lightning Maple Leafs is. I think this is a really good game too. Capitals with 6 points at 2-0-2. Predators 4 points with 2-1-0. 8:30, the Sharks at the Blackhawks. Both these teams winless. The Blackhawks have only played that one game against the Flyers overseas, and then San Jose is obviously 0-4. The Flames at the Stars. The Flames have 3 points at 1-1-1. The Stars with 2 points at 1-3. 9 o'clock, the Bruins at the Avalanche. This is another fantastic game. So they have 3 great games on the board. That's a 9 o'clock game. Bruins 3-0-0 with 6 points, and the Avalanche 2-0-0 at 4 points. And at 10 o'clock, the Golden Knights at the Coyotes. The Knights have 4 points at 2-1-0, and the Coyotes are winless and are 0-2 on the season. Next up, NBA Preseason. Going over results from last night and this morning. Look ahead to tonight's games. Pistons over to Mavericks, 124-117. Kristaps Porzingis' Mavericks debut went well, 17 points and 8 rebounds. He was pretty good. Luka Doncic had 21 points, 8 boards, and 5 assists. Meanwhile, for Detroit, Blake Griffin had 17 and 5. Andre Drummond had 13 and 9. Reggie Jackson had 13 and 5 assists. Tony Still had 11. Off the bench, Markieff Morris had 12, and Derrick Rose had 18. The Wizards defeated the Guangzhou Long Lions 137-98. Mo Wagner had 21 points off the bench. Davis Bertans had 12. Rui Hachimura had 11. Heat over the Hornets 108-94. Deion Waiters had 19 for Miami off the bench. You had Tyler Harrell, the rookie, only had 8. Myers Leonard had 9. Well, for Charlotte, Terry Rozier had 18. Dwayne Bacon had 10. PJ Washington off the bench, 13. Malik Monk off the bench, 10. Magic over the Hawks, 97-88. Terrence Ross had 20. Jonathan Isaac and Nikola Vucevic each had 13. Meanwhile, for Atlanta, Trae Young had 18 with 7 boards and 5 assists. DeAndre Hunter had 13 off the bench. Cam Reddish had 4. Jabari Parker had 11 off the bench. Bucks over the Jazz 133-99. Giannis had 22 points with 11 boards. Chris Middleton and Brook Lopez each had 14. Off the bench, Dragon Bender had 11. Dante DiVincenzo had 10. Meanwhile, for Utah, Donovan Mitchell had 14. Rudy Gobert did not play. Mike Conley only had 6. Pelicans over the Bulls 127-125. This game was on ESPN. It was called by Mike Breen and Hubie Brown. Zion Williamson, 29 points, 4 boards, 4 assists in the second preseason game. He looks like the next big thing. I've been preaching that over the last probably 10 months that this guy was going to be special. Drew Holiday had 10. Off the bench, Jahlil Okafor had 13. Nickeil Alexander-Walker had 13. Meanwhile, for the Bulls, Zach LaVine had 28. Tyler Stein-Oransky had 11. Otto Porter Jr. had 16. Lauri Markkanen had 12. Kobe White had 13 off the bench. Denzel Valentine had 10 off the bench. Tonight's preseason slate, actually we had 2 finals already. Rockets over the Raptors 118-111 from China. Norman Powell had 22 points for Toronto. Fred VanVleet had 10. Pascal Siakam had 16. Serge Ibaka had 12. Move on for Houston. James Harden and Russell Westbrook each had 22. Eric Gordon had 14. Clint Capella had 10 with 7 boards. Off the bench, Austin Rivers had 10. And the Nets over the Lakers 114-111. Spencer Dinwiddie had 20 off the bench. Kyrie Irving played 1 minute and was injured in this game with a facial fracture that he had earlier in the preseason. Meanwhile, for the Lakers, LeBron James had 20. Anthony Davis had 16. Rajon Rondo had 18. Tavius Caldwell-Pope had 11. Off the bench, Alex Caruso had 11. Kyle Kuzma did not play due to an ankle injury. DeMarcus Cousins, obviously not playing this year. And then Talen Horton-Tucker did not play due to a right foot injury. And I guess this is where the focus in Los Angeles is now with the Dodgers out them and the Clippers. And the Rams, obviously, as well. And Clay Helton watch. The rest of the games tonight, 8 o'clock, the Thunder host the New Zealand Breakers. 10 o'clock, the Trailblazers host the Maccabi Haifa. The Suns at the Kings. 10:30, the Timberwolves at the Warriors on NBA TV. And the Nuggets against the Clippers. Tonight's Thursday Night Football, you have the Giants against the Patriots. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman on the call. And then from here, Joe Buck will be going to follow the best team in New York sports right now, the New York Yankees, after probably watching the worst team in New York sports, arguably in the New York Giants, although the Jets and the Knicks have arguments for that. And then they would have to, then Joe Buck has to fly to either Houston or to New York for the Yankees to play either the Astros or the Rays. So, back to football. Buck Aikman and Aaron Andrews on the call. The Giants are coming off a home loss against the Minnesota Vikings. The Patriots are coming off a road win in Landover against the Washington Redskins. The Giants have a laundry list of injuries with Saquon Barkley, Wayne Gallman, so they're down 2 running backs. Sterling Shepard's out with a concussion. And obviously Evan Ingram with the MCL sprain. Patriots have some injuries as well. Philip Dorsett's not going to play. Josh Gordon questionable. Julian Edelman questionable. Rex Burkhead questionable. So they have a laundry list of injuries as well. But let's face it. Tom Brady, Bill Belichick. Yeah, it's not Eli Manning that they're facing, but they still have, or especially Brady, has a little bit of hate on the Giants because they beat him twice in 2 Super Bowls. Like I said, it's Daniel Jones, not Eli Manning. I think Jones is in for another rude awakening tonight against a good defense. And quite frankly, because of the Giants' injuries, the Patriots are a lock. They're my survivor pool pick this week. And I think the Patriots win by a score of 30-10. And my play for this game, I'm going to take under 42. It's at -110. I think that is the safest side play for the game. So in terms of straight up Patriots, but ATS and side total, I'm going under 42 with this game. College football, we have a couple of big games for you tonight. Actually, yeah, two. One in the ACC, that's going to be on ESPN, and the other in the Sun Belt, that's going to be on the U. We'll start with the big one, Syracuse at NC State, 8 o'clock, ESPN. This is a tough game to predict, in my opinion. Both these teams have been kind of Jekyll and Hyde. NC State had that bad loss against West Virginia a few weeks ago. Syracuse obviously got destroyed by Maryland and Clemson, so they're not the team we thought they were. And normally in these types of games, conference games, I normally go with the home team, and that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to take NC State in what I think will be a single-digit game. I could see them winning this by 7. I think 4 is a good number. The juice is on the -4 at -121, so it looks like this is probably going to go up to 4.5. I just think that this is a touchdown game. So give me the -4 for NC State. And you know what? That's not actually going to be my real play. My real play on this game is going to be over 56. I think that there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. And I feel much better about that than I do about the -4. I think that there's push potential, although I think that this game will probably be a touchdown game. Now it went up to 4.5 for NC State. I had a feeling that was on the verge of moving. It just did. I just saw it move live. But anyway, I'm taking over 56 for my best bet of this game. UL Monroe at Texas State, 9:15 ESPNU. The pick to win this game on the field, UL Monroe. They need this one. They're the more superior team. And in terms of a play here, I'm going to take the -3. I just think that they'll win by more than 3 points. It's going to be a fun, entertaining game, a lot of points. But I just think that they're better, and I think there's a chance they win this game by double digits. So give me UL Monroe -3. And again, in the other game, Syracuse, NC State over 56. Before I make my pick for Game 5 of the deciding game of the WNBA Finals, Gabe Kapler has been fired by the Philadelphia Phillies. This was a move I saw coming. I told Derek last night in a text message that I thought that this would happen because we were just speculating on some things in baseball. And I said that I thought that Gabe Kapler would lose his job. And I just had a gut feeling that this would happen this week. I just think the Phillies kind of waited and waited and waited. And they're going to try to get in that derby for Joe Madden, Joe Girardi, Buck Showalter, and all the other big-name managers that are available. I thought Gabe Kapler was just as bad as Mickey Callaway. And now there's 2 teams in that division looking for a new manager. Obviously them and the Mets, so they're going to be battling out for those 2 big names. This season, I think, was arguably a bigger disappointment than the Mets season, even though, the Phillies did finish with a worse record than the Mets. So that's one of the reasons. And the other reason being that they went out and spent over $300 million on Bryce Harper, and they didn't even make the playoffs. Like, that's a disaster that they didn't even make the playoffs. With Bryce Harper, Rhys Hoskins in your lineup, Aaron Nola, who we thought was a Cy Young candidate, but he regressed this season. So you think that they're going to be big spenders this offseason with a lot of big names on the free agent market. And in terms of managerial candidates, I think that the candidates for this job are Girardi, Showalter. I think Madden's going to LA Angels, but you can't rule him out either. Or maybe they go with somebody that was just, or maybe is soon to be fired, Dave Roberts. You never know. Gabe Kapler and Dave Roberts kind of came from that same sort of like trade Dodgers So you never know there. So it should be interesting to see what direction they go. Maybe they go with somebody that doesn't have experience, like a Raul Ibanez, or like, I wouldn't say Carlos Beltran. That wouldn't make sense. He was in play for the Yankees job a few years ago before Aaron Boone got it. Obviously, maybe they turned it to Chase Utley. I could see a world where like he gets an interview. I think that's a trend. I don't see them going after David Ross because obviously that's a Cub guy, and I feel like if he gets any of the jobs, it's going to be the Cubs. Although I think that's where I think Girardi's going. Like Girardi would pick the Cubs or the Phillies before the Mets. So I think the Phillies would be Girardi's second choice, unless if the Dodgers fire Dave Roberts, and that'd be his third choice. So yeah, news out of Philadelphia this morning due to the firing of Gabe Kapler. I just thought he was horrific. So he deservingly gets fired at a record of 161 and 163. If you think about it, Mickey Callaway's record was 163 and 161. So because the Mets in September made a second half run, it wasn't just in September, but the whole second half, he finished 10 games over 500, but the Mets were smart enough to realize that Mickey was the reason why they didn't make the playoffs, although Edwin Diaz deserves a lot of blame as well for that. Now, Game 5, WNBA Finals, you have the Mystics and you have the Sun. Should be a great game. 8 o'clock, Ryan Rucco, Rebecca Lobo on the call. It should be a great game. I think that crowd is going to be absolutely ruckus. I believe the Mystics are favored by 7.5. I think they'll win. They're my pick to win this series. I think Elena Delle Donne's the best player in basketball from a women's standpoint. She'll lead her team to a championship. Won't be stunned if Emma Massimon gets the Finals MVP, though, because she's been the MVP of the playoffs thus far. And then I actually do think that the Sun will keep it close. I think Jaquel Jones, Alyssa Thomas, and Courtney Williams, that trio will keep them in that game. So I'm going to take the Sun to cover, but the Mystics to beat your 2019 WNBA champions. And before that game, I'm going to have Jeff Maglicetti on the preview and pick that game and just discuss the WNBA season in general. We'll talk about the baseball playoffs and the NFL and hockey as well. Best bet of the day brought to you by DraftKings. I forgot to give out a pick for Game 5 tonight between the Rays and the Astros, so I'm going to do that during this segment. And that pick, just going to keep it quick and simple. Garrett Cole, do or die game. It looks easy. It is easy. Give me the Astros at home. And I'm taking them in best bet as well. And then parlaying them with the Patriots, who are a whopping minus 1,000. So that brings them and the Astros down to 197, because the Astros are minus 275. We'll switch over to hockey, and we'll take the Canadiens as a big favorite at home against the Red Wings. We will take the Blues at the Senators, and we will take the Vegas Golden Knights at the Coyotes. That's 483 odds. Wagering $1, pay out of $5.83. That's it for the podcast today. I'll be back tomorrow recapping Game 5 between the Astros and the Rays. We'll talk about the Thursday night game between the Giants and the Patriots, the WNBA Finals, college football, more picks for NFL and college for the weekend, NBA preseason, and more. Hope you guys have a great day, everybody.